Hi, in the next few minutes I'm going to share with you some simple yet highly effective techniques to stop panic attacks forever. You see, the real cure for panic and anxiety isn't about taking the latest medications or attending session after session with pricey doctors. You have everything you need on hand right now to stop panic attacks and prevent them from coming back. You just need to know how to do it, and that's exactly what I'll show you in this video. Let's face it, the traditional methods of treating panic and anxiety are oftentimes dangerous and seldom effective. You go to the doctor and you come back with pills and a lengthy schedule of therapy sessions, and that's if you're even lucky enough to have access to treatment. For many, the cost of treatment is a barrier to getting the help that you need in the first place. If you are discouraged, or if you are looking for a way to help yourself stop panic attacks and anxiety once and for all, you'll be happy to know there's a way to do this on your own. Just give it an honest try, and I promise that you will see some improvement if you do. Now, there are many techniques that you can use to overcome the anxiety and panic. In this video, we'll go over one simple way, plus I'll show you how you can learn about other more advanced techniques that are just as simple but may work better for you because everybody is different after all. The technique you're about to learn is called Observe, Label, Watch, Move On. To begin with, when you start to experience anxious thoughts, it's important not to force the thoughts away. Let the thoughts in. The more comfortable you can become with them, the better. These thoughts will never go away fully, but what you can learn is to change your reaction to them. By changing your reaction to the anxious thoughts, you become free of them. Once you establish a new way of reacting to the thoughts, it does not matter if you have them or not. Your reaction is what defines the whole experience, and that applies to almost everything. Everybody experiences fleeting thoughts that many would consider scary or crazy. The difference between most people and somebody who gets caught up in them is that the average person sees them exactly for what they are, fleeting anxious thoughts, and casually ignores them. The anxious person is at a disadvantage as they've already had a certain level of anxiety in their system. The thoughts easily spark feelings of further anxiety, which build into a cycle of fear. You break the cycle by changing how you react to the fearful thought. Here's an example of how to approach this. You are enjoying the way your day is going, but then all of a sudden a fearful thought comes to mind. Before, you would react with anxiety to the idea and try to force that thought out of your mind. This time, however, say, "That's a fear of whatever. I could worry and obsess over this, but this time I'm going to do something differently. I'm not going to react to it. I'm also not going to try and stop it either. I'm just going to label the thought and then not react." Then the thought comes again with more intensity and probably with a new scary angle you haven't considered. When this happens, you do exactly the same. As if you were observing a cloud passing overhead, you simply observe it, label it, and then watch it as it passes with no judgment. Then move your attention on to what you are doing. Observe, label, watch, move on. See the anxious thought for what it really is, one of the thousands of fleeting sane and insane thoughts that every one of us experiences daily. If you are more of an indoors type of person, then instead of thinking of thoughts like clouds passing in the sky, you might try imagining a large cinema screen, and the anxious thoughts are projected onto the screen in front of you. Play around with this approach. Find out what works for you. The key thing to remember is observe, label, watch, move on. By practicing this approach, you gradually stop reacting with fear to the thought, and you learn to treat it as nothing more than an odd peculiarity. When you are at a stage when you are comfortable doing the above exercise and you feel you're making good progress, then try this additional step. Actually invite one of your more regular fearful thoughts in. Call that fear to you. Say you just want to come close so that you can observe it. It may seem like the last thing you would wish to bring upon yourself, as you don't particularly enjoy these thoughts, but this approach can be very empowering. You are now calling the shots. You actually invited the issue in. By doing this, you are discharging the dense vibration of fear surrounding the anxious thought. That fear was sustaining itself on your resistance, the idea that you could not handle these thoughts. The fear quickly evaporates when you turn around and say, "Yes, of course I can handle these thoughts." Fear intensifies when we pull away from it, Anxious thoughts become a mental tug of war if we struggle with them. It is the mental struggle of pulling against the anxious thoughts that creates the inner psychological tension. The inner tension is fueled by thoughts like, I can't handle to think about this, please go away. Or, I don't like that thought, I want it to stop. Take a different stance. Invite anxious thoughts in. Willingly sit with them, label them, and do your very best not to react. Yes, it does take practice, but very soon you will find yourself in a unique position of control. You are no longer a victim of fearful thinking, but a decision maker in what you will or will not be concerned about. As with every technique, there's always a level of practice involved in the beginning. Initially, you start observing, but then suddenly get anxious about the fearful thought. That's very normal in the beginning. Keep at it, practice, and you'll quickly see how less impacting these fearful thoughts become. Do not let your mind trick you into believing that your anxiety is something that you will always have to struggle with. That is simply not true. Now you can go ahead and practice this technique starting right now. Take action. Conquer the next panic attack before it even starts. You'll feel better and have more confidence than you have in a long time, if ever. It really is that simple. But did you know that this tip is just one of many ways that you can stop panic and anxiety effectively? This is the basics, the most simple level of facing and overcoming anxiety. As you might imagine, there are more advanced techniques that are even more effective at curing panic and anxiety. These advanced techniques are just as easy to accomplish and have helped thousands of people kick anxiety and panic to the curb and regain their lives. These advanced techniques for stopping panic and anxiety once and for all are covered in the link to the right of this video. Go ahead and click that link and you'll see what I mean. This is the information that they don't want you to know about. These are the techniques that have been successfully used by thousands of folks suffering from debilitating anxiety and embarrassing panic attacks to end these problems once and for all, and do so without expensive and dangerous drugs or time-consuming and often ineffective therapy. You can do this yourself, and you can start right this moment. Visit the link to the right and start regaining your life right away.